I guess it would have to be the temporal nature of the thing, the fact that it can be divorced from literary or theatrical narrative, and we have this experiential, space, and that the thing can accrue over the course of an hour and a half in this very contained space of a cinema or a living room, and alter us in some small way, and the intimacy that we're fortunate enough to be privy to in that space. Well, I guess I was a young person, and I saw Indiana Jones, and for 2 days I walked around with Harrison Ford's face embedded in my features, and I retrospectively am frightened by that experience, but it also made me conscious of how physiologically impactful that cinema can be, and I find that just as powerfully. I find just as much potential in that now as I do fear, and I think that I make movies in opposition to that kind of, in an attempt to add some sort of opposition to that narcotic effect of comfort cinema. Thomas Bernard and Samuel Beckett have shaped a lot of the way that I think about art and literature, and been very important to the way that I look at the world. Well, I think that I actually saw a real potential in the thing after I was probably 16 years old and saw a print of Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky at the Film Forum in New York, and it introduced so much that was both contrary to and different from the popular American cinema I was used to, and it seemed to illustrate the potential of the thing on its own terms, outside of a more rigid kind of, literary or theatrical narrative. It altered me in a way that was very different than the way that the Spielbergian enterprises altered me as a child. And I thought about, I was forced to take into consideration my relationship to the world, and it introduced me to a kind of active cinema and the potential for the for the audience as a part and of the experience, as opposed to a recipient of the experience or the passive engagement. I'm constantly looking for what I could idiosyncratically bring to the thing, and that's a lot of analysis of both the medium and myself and my relationship to it, and ultimately an interest in like my limitations to the thing, the impediments that I sort of encounter, and those sort of describe to me what utility I might have, or what I could bring to it. And I think a lot of my interest is analyzing the way that we watch movies and the way that we imbibe them, and the possibility of cinema as an active ingredient in our lives, and a lot of my interest is in opposition to the popular American cinema and the numbing effects of it, I suppose. Well, I'm a carpenter by trade and a cook, and the physical act of the production and the literal movement and engagement with the thing in a real direct way is thrilling and makes a lot of sense to the body and the mind. And but there are so many different, different aspects to it that it's difficult to I love the edit. I love the creation of the thing after the fact, and almost more than the conception of it, because you have to contend with the medium, and you have to contend with the world, and it can be a joy to see the lack of yourself in the thing, and actually have that relationship with the medium and the world. A central interest and focus of mine is the concept of being an American, and how that differs from the actuality of and the contradiction and the confusion and the reality of being a human being inside of certain national boundaries. America is so relentlessly, propped up by the conception of itself and the idea of America, and the utopian sort of drive for whether it's freedom or unlimited potential. And I feel very strongly that it's grown, it's resulted in a great disconnect between the actuality of the thing and the conception of it. A lot of every movie that I make or conceive of has to do with questioning that utopian sort of drive in the intellect, and its potential damage, and its pitfalls. Doubt and suspicion are the potentially great assets, as opposed to afflictions that should be remedied or ignored. Limitations of the way that you approach something, and the difficulties you encounter describe the world to you, as opposed to the limitations of the world. That's the shape of the possibility of your engagement with it, and that's a great asset and something that shouldn't be discarded. I think it's very important. It doesn't make the idea that movies are sort of this peripheral thing to our lives and relegated to our laptops in between eBay and Facebook. That it's a beautiful building like at IU that you can walk into, and for me, I'm an atheist, and it's sort of the concept of the construct of a nuclear kind of a place of reverence is something that is a holdover that I appreciate from my youth in the Catholic Church. I think that cinema has, it should have, in my opinion, a reverential kind of center to it, a nucleus where people can come and it's celebrated, and it's given the sort of the platform that it deserves as an actual art, not just as a peripheral fancy or disposable entertainment.